Welcome back to the Run Radio podcast. My name's Trina Wilcox. My guest today has written over 250 books for women, kids, young adult. I know a lot of people have locked onto those series. Melody Carlson, welcome.
Thank you.
I've been a fan of your books for a long time. As someone who has a very hard time picking out a good fiction storybook, when I found your books, it was so much easier for me to go to that section of the library or go to that section on Amazon and just type you in. And I know I was going to be happy with the book.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet.
So when did you know that you wanted to write? Has that been something that's just been a part of your life forever? Or was that something that grew on you as you progressed?
I just always loved writing. I mean, even before I was old enough to actually write, I loved story and I would imagine stories and just it came real easily and naturally to me to start writing. And I did it, all through school and, you know, through life. I was journaling and writing letters and things for the newspaper, but it wasn't until my boys were just kind of preteen years that it just burst in me. I'm going to write a whole book, and that was kind of like, I don't know, I knew nothing about it, but I just started writing. I was actually running a group home daycare center at the time, so I could be home for my boys. And while the kids were napping, I would pull out my yellow legal pad and I wrote a whole book on a yellow legal pad.
Oh my
I was
gosh. Do you still have it?
driven.
Do you still have it?
It's the only book I've never published. And this was to show how old that I am and how this was before computers. And so then I got an electronic typewriter and I did type it out on the typewriter, which, that's a pain. And then I moved on to computers and it's just the only one I've never done anything with. And it was really just like a youth novel. It wasn't real long, but right. My mom always thought I should publish it, but I just didn't.
And no reason, no rhyme or reason, you just have it. And do you think you will, or do you?
I don't know. I might revisit it someday, but there's been so many other things going on
Yeah.
that to go back to this. And that's kind of a tough market, that little preteen, kind of chapter book kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know I could probably publish it, but I don't know.
So when you finished the first one you were ready to publish, what was that like? How did you, I mean, before we had publishing like we do today, we've got a lot of options today. But before that, it was traditional, would make or break you. So what was navigating those waters like for you?
Oh my gosh, I did not know what I was doing at all. And so I wrote one. So then I moved up a little older age group. My character became a 14-year-old, and I knew it was going to be a 4-book series. How did I know that? I don't even know. And it was historical, which is hysterical now because I'm like, man, researching back then was really hard. And it was really just post-war World War II. But I had my mom and my aunt and I'd ask them questions, and so I got it all written. I got the first 2 books written and I just started sending it out to anybody that I thought would do it, and all I got was rejection, rejection, rejection. So then I went to a writers conference. I was getting smarter, and at the writers conference I met an editor who liked it, and she took it with her. And but by then I'd had so many rejections that what I would turn around and do is just write another book.
Oh.
Write another book. And I moved, before I even finished that series, I started writing women's novels because I was feeling good about, finishing a book. It's like, I know I can do this. And I had a computer. It was one of those old, slow dinosaurs, but it was better than a yellow legal pad. And so I just started cranking them out. And because I had very little spare time, I mean, my kids were in school and I was actually being president of the PTA and, running the group home daycare center. And it was also a preschool, and so my schedule was full. So I learned how to write really fast.
Wow.
And I just cranked these books out and just kind of kept getting rejections. And that was in the day too, when everything was really slow. You had to snail mail your stuff and send your self-addressed stamped envelope to get it back. Yeah. So I had a little stockpile of books, and then they started to sell. And I was so glad that I did, because it's like, okay, I got more. I got more.
I think that's a very important and wise lesson that you just kept going. You're like, I like writing these. I have stories to tell, so I'm just going to do it. I don't care if you're going to take forever getting back to me. And
Yeah. Or maybe all I would get was rejections. I used to
yeah,
jokingly say I could wallpaper my bathroom with my rejection letters, and I could have. I really could have.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people wait and sit on that first one, getting that permission to go ahead to continue. But I love that you were just like, nope, gonna keep going.
Yeah. I intuitively knew that I could do it. I don't even, I feel like, where did that come from? It was a God thing. But yeah, I just somehow just go for it. And I know I see the same thing out, or I'll even see people that'll just get stuck on the first chapter. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, don't keep working that first chapter. Write the whole book, and then go back to it. And yeah,
Do
but people
you
get stuck.
do you think if you had self-publishing or even hybrid publishing at your fingertips back then, would you have just went ahead and started publishing?
I am not sure. I've discovered about myself that I'm not really good at self-marketing,
Oh, okay.
which I don't know if I would have known that or understood that then, but actually, at one point, when self-publishing became kind of a big deal, what was that, 10, 12 years ago? I don't know.
Mhm.
And a lot of my writer friends were on that bandwagon, and I thought, okay, well, I should try that too. And I'm not good
Yeah.
at it. I let the books wither and die, and then I eventually just sold them to a publisher. So, yeah. Not some people are really gifted at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think there is something into knowing where your strengths are, and then you need to connect with what the publisher is going to offer you or not, and know where to spend your money, because that's kind of what it comes down to. If you're great at that, then do it yourself. But if you're not, it may be worth it to try to go the traditional route. I don't think there
Right.
is any right answer these days. I don't know if you have a thought on that or not.
I totally agree. And I think it is different for everybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's all kinds of different opportunities. And like, one of the houses that I went with when I decided to give up on self-publishing was a really small house that, I took really small advances, smaller than I'd ever had before. But in a way, for me, it was the closest thing to self-publishing, because you're kind of banking on the fact that the book is going to sell. And but I worked actually in publishing for 3 years too, so
Okay.
I did get my publishing education early in the game. And I understand, publishers, they're putting a lot of money on the table,
Yeah.
so I respect that. And yeah.
Let's talk about your writing style, how you keep track of your characters, how you are able to be such a great storyteller so many times over.
Oh boy. I just jump in with both feet, and I, try to connect myself to the character, and care about, I'm going to say her, because usually they are,
Yeah.
and just follow the story. I'm not an outliner,
Uh-huh.
so that to me makes the process more exciting. And I know some people are outliners, and that's exciting to them, and I
Mhm.
don't just that at all. I get it, but I've tried outlining it. It really doesn't work for me. And so for me, it's just chasing down the story, which keeps me going back. And I think that's one of the reasons I have written so many books, is I just keep going back, because it's like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Mhm.
Yeah. And yeah,
Do you personally have a favorite character that you are attached to, or any story about some of the series that you've done that stands out that we might not know?
that's always a hard question.
Yeah.
I kind of have a couple of pat answers, and one of them is usually whatever I'm working on, or whatever I just finished is fresh in my mind. I just finished a book that'll be my big novel next year, that's called Welcome to the Honeybee and Bee. And it involves um, a family, and the older guy in the family has FTD, which is frontal temporal disorder or dementia. And my husband actually has that. So their whole plight in the story, especially his wife, it's still fresh in my thoughts. So that probably
Right.
right now I'm like, yeah, I can relate to her. Well, of course I can. But yeah, in the past, one of my favorite novels was quite a while back, and it was called Finding Alice. It's still available, and it's about a young woman's trip through schizophrenia. But it is a novel. But I wrote it in first person present tense, which I hadn't done that before.
Okay.
And my husband, see, I'm getting forgetful. My son at the time was 20, and boy, that tells me how long ago that was. And he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. So that was really
Okay.
near and dear to my heart and important to me. And I still have kind of deep feelings about that one.
When you're doing your research, what is that like? Are you just kind of a keyboard warrior? Do you set up appointments and meetings with people? What's that look like for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything, but
Yeah.
I think probably it's been more of the keyboard warrior. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm so thankful for the internet. I mean, it's right there,
Yeah.
and so much more. I think about some of the books that I did when it wasn't. Like I did an Oregon Trail series. Oh, I can't remember how long ago, but it was when there wasn't as much available, and so I
Mhm.
was having to do a lot of, go to the library and research and get books and read, and but nowadays there's so many people that have like put old journals and just all kinds of, you can find everything. And I know you have to double triple check your information
Yeah.
sometimes, and it's good to have editors who do that too. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes we'll disagree, and I'll send her my information and she'll send her, and who, it's a toss up for who wins. But yeah, it is so much easier now than it used to be.
Do you have time to read yourself much?
I try to, and I have a big to be read stack right
Okay.
now. And now that I've just finished a book, and I'm going to start a little project, but I don't like to read while I'm writing. It was just an old habit I got a long, long time ago, because I was so afraid if I read something really good that it would, somehow
Mhm.
trickle in,
Yeah.
and like, I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So it's a habit and I realize now I probably don't need to think that way, but it's ingrained.
Do you have a particular genre you're drawn to?
I really do like contemporary women's fiction, kind of the issues, but not too heavy, books.
Yeah.
I used to go for the heavier ones when I was younger. I used to write heavier ones when I was younger, but I like, more of a good conflict, but not overwhelming.
Let's talk about your new book, Just for the Summer. It was released on the 19th of March. Tell me a little bit about it and what people can expect.
Yeah, it's a fun, light romp, pretty much. I mean, I try to put a little bit of depth here and there where I think it fits, but it's just two young women at different stages of life. They're not the same age, but they're both in the hospitality industry, and one of them has just worked so hard. And her mom died when she was in college, so she had to quit college to help raise her much younger sister. And she got her sister all through school and med school by working her way through the hotel industry until she was really doing a great job managing a kind of a chic boutique Seattle hotel. But she's got the meanest boss in the world. And and so she's and then she finds out that her sister, after she graduates from med school, instead of going to buy a home like they'd planned on doing at some point in time, just a little house in Seattle where, and her name's Jenny, and she could find a new job and that she liked and have some freedom. And her sister gets this big opportunity to go to the East Coast and do this whole cancer research, you know, hospital thing. And so boom, there goes Jenny's dreams. And her boss is being particularly mean, and she's online and she sees this job swap site, and she's just looking at it out of curiosity. And on the other end of the spectrum, there's this gal, Jacqueline, who is a, a little more entitled, and she's got a degree in hospitality, and the best job she could get was managing her grandpa's kind of podunk um, river fishing lodge that is kind of run down, and she does, and Jacqueline doesn't like it very much. It's not her dream. Her dream is a big city hotel. So they decide to swap. And, of course, what's going to go wrong?
Right. We will have to find out.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about All Summer Long that ended up on Hallmark. How did that happen? And I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
that would have been so exciting.
Yeah. Well, over the years, I had a lot of options on movies. I almost had a Lifetime one once with the book I told you about, Finding Alice. It got clear to and there were other ones that just got clear to that stage, and things would unravel. And along the way, Hallmark got interested because my Christmas books are like little Hallmark movies, and
Yeah.
that's the normal way to go. But the producer that I sort of got linked with, they were overloaded on Christmas books. Of course, they keep doing them, so I don't know. But she said, "Well, let's do something else. Let's do another season." So I had this book called All Summer Long, and she just fell in love with it. And it's the boat. It's a dinner boat, and this gal restores her aunt and uncle's dinner boat, which is kind of fun. And so, yeah, I couldn't even believe that they picked that one, because that was, with a boat, that's not real easy to do. That's not cheap by any means.
Mhm.
And this was before COVID, just right
Oh,
before
wow.
COVID.
Yeah.
I was kind of stunned when it really went into production. And so I went up to Canada where it was being filmed. It's supposed to be set in San Francisco, but they saved money by doing it in Canada. And it was so fun, and the boat was so cool. And I learned so much. And one of the things I learned while I was up there was the way that they adapt their scripts, and kind of why they make some of the changes they do. And then some of the changes they made, there was really no rhyme or reason, I didn't think. And I think it was more just the gals that did it wanted to do it that way. So
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I had just finished a novel, The Happy Camper,
Uh-huh.
and I thought that would be really a cute movie. And so I went ahead and adapted that one myself. That The first movie was what kind of pushed me towards that. And then I ended up selling that script, and it got made into a movie um a couple years ago, or a year ago. Can't remember.
That's
Yeah.
exciting. I mean, are you when even though you know some of the changes that are coming, did you still get nervous to see the end product, knowing that initially it sparked from you and it was your story?
Yeah, but here's, the beauty of writing so many books is, by the time the movies came out, the book was like so many books behind me, that it
Yeah.
wasn't as fresh. I had readers who were a little more offended than I was, like, well, why didn't they do this? And why didn't they
Yeah.
do that? And I'm like, oh, I'm not, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, and just with those two movies, and I got to work on another one too that I novelized real early in the game, called Grace Unplugged, where I worked from the script and wrote a novel to go with it. So I kind of learned that there are rules, to why you do certain things, and budget is big rule, and
Mhm.
so I get that, you just can't contain everything that you want in a book. Like, your favorite scene might be really expensive to reproduce on screen.
Yeah.
And so I kind of learned to respect that. And I've done some adaptations since then with all of that in mind. But I kind of get it. It's a different ballgame. But it also gave me a deep appreciation for writing books, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, you can do anything you want in a book.
For real, that is a great takeaway from it for sure. Have you ever got to make a cameo in any of these yet?
That's kind of a sore subject,
Oh,
because I'm really camera phobic, and I have deep roots of reasons why I am. My mom
oh,
used to always pose us, and you had to be perfectly posed because she didn't want to waste the shot, and I was the one who always messed them up. So I'm like, I don't want to be in anybody's photos.
oh,
And so, yeah, they got mad at me there was supposed to be a boat scene where they actually needed more characters because it was a party scene. And I just kind of missed the boat, literally. And probably to be honest, on purpose. And I confessed it to my producer after the fact, and they sent a boat over to get me, but the party was already over with. But
Oh,
it was so pretty out there and it was nighttime. It's like,
yeah.
then I just enjoyed the moment.
Yeah.
Although she forced me to have pictures taken there just because she wanted to be mean. No.
Oh,
But then with the next one, the Happy Camper, there was a filming where they're supposed to be at this trailer festival and there's people walking around looking, and I tried to cooperate, but I really wasn't very cooperative. When I saw the opportunity to step back, I did. So I
oh,
think I think you might barely see. I know it's terrible, but
well,
I didn't want to spoil shots by making a weird
no
face and
way. You
going,
would
oh, there's a
not.
camera. Oh no.
No, we are in the day and age of videos. You cannot mess them up like that. We won't waste film.
I know. It's
So
one
these
thing when you're doing like selfies and you can destroy
are, yeah,
90 of
yes,
them, you know.
yes. So
But
is
when
it
you
hard for you to do stuff like this then and watch it back?
well, I just keep my eyes on you.
Oh,
Oh, no, and I don't
you
watch them
won't
back.
watch it back.
No, because
Oh,
I would really critique myself, and then the next time I
mm.
did one, I'd be like, "Well, oh, don't do that. Don't say that."
Oh,
No, it's kind of like
wow.
writing too,
Yeah,
because you could stop, especially like if you read reviews or you were too, yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
just keep going forward is what I tell myself. Just keep as long as you can, keep moving forward.
Well, are you that tough of a critic on your writing? Do you read reviews
Oh
and stuff
yeah,
like
if I do, but although it's funny because sometimes I'll get like a reader letter and they'll be talking about some older book or something like that, and I'll just pull it off my shelf. These are all my books behind me, and I'll just pull
that?
it off and just open it just somewhere and just start reading. Like, well, was it really that good? And then it's funny because I will get caught in it, and I'll like keep reading. Like, okay, now this is ridiculous. I put the book
Oh
away.
goodness, that's
I do
fascinating.
get pulled in a little bit. So I'm thinking, well, I must be doing something right that I can pull myself in.
Oh my goodness. If you weren't writing, what else would you be doing?
Well, I really like interior design, and I
We've seen that
actually
in some of your characters, I believe.
I know, isn't that so funny? I've actually worked for a really good designer way back. It was when I was just starting writing, and I got a real taste of that world, and I didn't like it because the people she worked for, very very wealthy people, and they were pretty persnickety, and so I just do stuff for fun and for friends. I love doing that. I mean, I did redo a trailer just like in the Happy Camper. She redoes that trailer, and I designed our house, and I actually drew the blueprints for it, and then did what I. There's still a lot left to do, and when I get the opportunity, I like to do that. It's fun, and I
So,
also like to garden,
oh
and I
yeah.
like the outdoors a lot too. So yeah.
So it seems like
Camping.
that's some of the things that feed into your creativity to keep your cup full. So when you do sit down to write, you can do that. What about, I mean, gardening is very active. Do you have any other activities that you like to do, like fitness wise, or, just
I
other,
should.
you should.
Well, in the past I have. I mean, we used to be a lot more active, like with cross country skiing. We live in really great recreational country, and um, yeah, we need to do more. Camping kind of gets us out there doing a little bit. It's a little bit more limiting with my husband's condition,
Yeah.
but we still try to do things. But I do need to do more. I
Yeah.
know I do.
Is the situation with your husband brand new, or have you been dealing with that diagnosis for a while?
It's fairly new. FTD is an illness that is got it hits people at younger ages. Well, like Bruce Willis, and my husband is the same age as
Okay.
Bruce Willis, and
Mhm.
it comes on fast and hard, and unlike Alzheimer's, it's a short one.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
where I'm
sorry.
trying to pack as much in. We're going to go do an Alaskan cruise next month, and or in May, and yeah, uh, and trying to do more camping and more this and that, and
Make some
yeah,
more memories. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Fantastic. What do you feel like is next for you when it comes to like series or books, maybe movies? Do you have something intentionally in mind? Or are you just gonna kind of let it take you?
I think I'm gonna let it take me. I think, a few years ago, I was more driven for the movies before
Hmm.
my husband's diagnosis. And honestly, it kind of has slowed me down in that respect. There's some things that are still kind of cooking out there that I I feel like I've almost lost track of them, but that are even in production, but it's just not as important as it used to be,
Yeah.
which is just, and maybe that'll come back. I don't know. I've discovered that, like I said, through that process, it really gave me a love for writing books and reading books and just I just feel like, and you probably, most people feel like this. You've read a book, you've loved it, you see the movie, and it's like, that
Yeah.
wasn't his book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you tell young writers or new writers that don't feel like they have the natural gift like they see in you, where you just sit down and write, but they've still got a story to tell? What kind of encouragement would you give to other writers?
Well, that's a really good question because I like what you said. They don't see naturally what they have. I didn't see naturally what I had for years
Hmm.
because it came easily because it was a natural thing. And I think a lot of times gifts are like that. So one thing I would tell them is, if this is a gift, and you hope that it is, because I think usually when we have a desire, well, I guess there's a lot of reasons people have a desire to write books. I think if you have a desire to write books for fame and fortune, well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
But if you just have a deep desire to write and you love to write, chances are you are gifted at it, and maybe you are taking it for granted. So then what I would say is like I did it, just do it, and don't turn on your inner editor while you're doing it. Get something completely done, even if it's just a short story. Get the whole thing done. Don't just try to recraft the first page. Just keep going, because until you have a completed product, in my opinion, it's not ready to edit. Because a lot of, like I told you, how those people get stuck on their first chapter and they rewrite that first chapter over and over and over and over again, and they might end up with a beautiful first chapter,
Mhm.
but it if they ever do get the book done, by the time they get the book done, they might realize that first chapter doesn't fit with the book at all and it needs to be thrown away. Even
Yeah.
though they
Yeah.
spent 3 years on that same chapter. So get the whole thing done, and then after that, if you need to, get a critique group. A critique group was so important to me in my early days of writing. Just other sincere writers who are not there to tear you apart, but to help you and to
Hmm.
be extra eyes and ears. Yeah. And then go to a writers conference or two, and yeah, and read lots of books. Read lots of good books.
Yeah, I've heard some talk about how valuable beta readers were for them, or just like you're saying, just another group of people with the same passion, and you guys can swap ideas and make one another even better.
Yeah, I had, in my real early days, I had a beloved critique group, and I still love these women. And then years, decades went by, and then I had a friend who was just trying to get started in writing and wanted to start a critique group. And I told her, you know what? If you start one, I'll come to it. And she was like, "Are you kidding? You'll come?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yep." And it's been the sweetest thing. I love these women. We were 8, we're 7 now, and it's and they're all just kind of mostly young, inexperienced writers, but it's so encouraging too. It's fun to encourage other people and then get encouraged at the same time. It's been wonderful.
Fantastic. All right, let's see. I don't know. Is there anything I haven't thought to ask that you would share with your audience? Now's your chance.
I think you had a really good list of questions. I don't know.
Good. All right,
Yeah.
tell people where they can go to find your books and learn more about staying connected with you.
Well, yeah, I think you can find my books just about anywhere, but Amazon and Barnes and Noble and christianbooks.com, and hopefully at your local bookstore, if you go in there and ask them to order one, they will. I love it when people do that because it helps to introduce your books to other people. And libraries are wonderful for
Yeah.
carrying my books, and if they're not, they should contact me.
Yes. Yes.
um, yeah, my website is melodycarlson.com, but right now it's down. I'm having trouble with my server and I need to get it rebuilt, and that's a long story. And then I answer email. Sometimes it might take me a couple of months to catch up, but Melody Carlson Books at gmail.com I answer, and then I'm on Facebook, and I'm not as good at social networking as these people who are so self-published and doing wonderfully at it, which is that's, not my gift.
And you have a newsletter too, which when your
Yeah.
website's back up and you can subscribe because she always does giveaways and you do connect with your audience there, and that's been lovely too. So thank
Yeah,
you
it's
for
fun.
sharing your stories, writing your stories, and for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Be sure you're following along at Run Radio Station on all social media. You can always catch up at runradio.net. Thank you so much, Melody Carlson.
Thank you.